going to start just sitting, taking a few long, slow, deep breaths with the eyes closed. Make sure you feel comfortable. So I'm sitting with my legs crossed at the moment, but if you want to, you can have legs out. You can sit on blocks, sit on meditation stools or chairs. And during these few moments, you tune into your own breath. Follow the breath in and out through your nose. Noticing the impact that breathing has on the whole of your body. So you become aware of the expansion of the chest and the abdomen and the relaxation as you exhale. Begin to notice how your body is situated. So you're trying, if you can, to be upright, chest lifted, chin tucked slightly back, so that you're sitting really well with your head above your pelvis. Remember that you're in charge. So if I've given you an instruction and it's not working for you, move into a position that feels comfortable for you. Nothing should be intolerable, but we are looking for a sweet discomfort in our practice that shows that we're developing the flexibility and developing an openness in our energy channels. And that sweet discomfort might feel like a dull ache in the body. It doesn't feel sharp. It doesn't feel as if you've compressed things to a point where you're getting pins and needles. It just feels like a healthy stretch. So with that in mind, we'll set an intention for the class. And the intention, or a sankalpa in Sanskrit, is usually a short sentence in the present tense that suggests that you're already where you would like to be. For example, I open my hips for 5 minutes every day, would be a sankalpa. You could just set the intention for this class alone, or you can make it last for longer than that. But once you've arrived at your intention, just say it to yourself 3 times. Say it with a bit of conviction, and then it settles deep inside your mind. You're more likely to make it happen then. And then slowly opening your eyes, taking a deep breath in. Find a really comfortable position lying on your front, prone Shavasana. Just going to be here for a few moments. So this isn't a long hold. Just lie on your front with your head resting on your hands. So this is prone Shavasana. Think about your alignment through the whole of your spine. Think about symmetry and the length in both the front and the back of the neck. Slide your shoulders down your back. Have your feet wherever it feels comfortable. So some people do like to rest on the ends of the toes, and some people like the toenails down on the floor. So choose what feels best for you. And our first pose is going to be a Sphinx pose. So we're coming up onto our forearms now, taking a deep breath in. Bringing the palms of the hands together. Thinking about how your shoulders feel, because we're not putting any effort into this at all around the shoulders and the head. It's a bit different from things like Cobra in other practices. You can relax your shoulders down and you can let your head hang. And this is where the props come into play. So if your head's feeling a bit heavy and your neck is a bit sore, just put some props, various props. You can stack them up like this, and you can relax your forehead onto the props, and your lower back will still be in extension. So think about how your lower back's feeling. If it's too intense for you, you can slide your hands further forwards. If it's not quite giving you a stretch, you can move your elbows back. I've set the timer. And so now we're looking for that sweet discomfort. It's a position that we don't adopt throughout the day generally, so you might start to feel it quite soon. Not a sharp pain in any way, but an awareness that you've got a little bit of compression happening between the lumbar vertebrae and the top of your sacrum. And you can feel that there's a bit of opening up and lengthening on the front of your body. And that combination of the two things, pressure on one side and the stretch on the other, is how we begin to open up our energy channels. Check that you can breathe freely. So the breath should flow. If your breath feels jerky or in any way unpleasant, just try lowering slightly. And then just a quick reminder that sometimes we feel impatient, irritable, can't wait for the timer to go off, that kind of thing. And all of that is normal because we're also working with our mind. We're giving ourselves time out and we're giving ourselves permission not to rush about, but we're so used to rushing about that sometimes there's a lot of thinking happening during the pose. So just allow yourself a moment of pause before any reaction. So you pause and ask yourself, what's going on? If there's pain and it's manifesting itself as irritability, then move away from the pain, adjust the posture. But if not, see if you can sit with, or lie with in this case, the pose, and allow your mind to relax. Allow yourself a little bit of time out. That's the sound of our alarm going. What we're going to do is move from there into seal pose. So you're staying in a back extension, but making it a little bit more intense. So with seal pose, you take your hands further forwards and straighten your arms. So very subtly, you're moving up a little bit. Hips are still down on the floor. If that's too intense, you move your arms a bit further forwards so the rib cage can come down a bit further. If it's not causing you any sweet discomfort at all, you can lift a little bit more and then relax your head. I've just brought another prop in today, which is a stool. You can use stools and chairs, and you can just rest your head down on a stool like that, if that feels comfortable for you. Coffee table with a cushion on. It doesn't have to be purpose built, so feel able to create your own props. Once you're in that pose, check the breathing's not jerky at all. And I'll just run through the meridians. We've got 6 meridians that run through the legs to 6 major organs. Usually, Yin refers to practices that go from the navel to the knees. Occasionally, as in our last few practices, we've looked at the heart and we've looked at practices that also go down through the arms. But the 3 meridians that are in our inner leg are the spleen, the kidney, and the liver. Across the top of the leg, the stomach meridian. Across the outer hip, the gallbladder meridian. And the back of the leg, the urinary bladder. So if you think about it, all the floor poses can gently stimulate and tug at these areas and promote chi flow, some more than others. What we try to do is open up the side that's the most flexible first, and we're teaching our inflexible side what's about to happen. So if you hear me say start on the right, but your most open side is the left, then you start with your most open side, as long as we end up having done both sides. We're looking for an appropriate edge when we move into postures, and we're looking at self-compassion, self-care. So it's not a no pain, no gain situation at all. Move to an edge where you feel as if it's really doing you good. Just enjoy that feeling in your lower back for another half a minute. So no sudden moves, but when you hear that sound, just take a lovely deep breath in. And we're going to go into a child's pose now by coming up onto our hands and knees. Keep the knees together. Bring your bottom backwards. Curl your body around your legs and put your arms wherever it feels best for you. So with child's pose, blocks under the head are good. Blocks underneath the knees, good as well. Just depends how open your kneecaps are feeling today as to whether you're able to get your bottom right down onto your heels. Rest there. So you can feel where there's pressure, where there's compression. When you're in child's pose, you can feel it in the groin and you can feel it in your abdomen as well. And you can feel, in this case, the stretch down the whole of your spine. Particularly, you'll feel it as the opposite of where you felt it in Seal and Sphinx. So your pelvis, where it joins into the lumbar spine, feels as if it's really stretching out now. So forwards and back gentle movements over the hour is what creates that stimulation in the meridians. I always love the way this feels when you're breathing in and breathing out, and you can feel your abdomen and your thighs coming into contact with each other, and that rhythmic breath movement is like a deep abdominal massage. And the areas that you can feel most stimulated down the center, where the chakras are situated, round the navel. So if you go backwards from the navel towards the spine, that's where Manipura chakra is situated. So you've got that deep flexion around the front there. So that's stimulating Manipura. With your chin tucked in, your throat chakra, Vishuddhi chakra, is also activated. And when your thoracic spine is rounded, Anahata chakra, your heart chakra. These chakras down the center, they govern the meridians. The meridians are like nadis in Sanskrit that come out from the center. One of the principles of Yin is that we let go of control, surrender, surrendering to the stillness in a posture, surrendering to the openness that you can feel around your spine. Just remember that there's no sudden movement, but when you hear that sound, you take a lovely, long, slow, deep breath in, and then you can come slowly up onto your hands and knees. We're going to go for Swan Pose, if Swan Pose is accessible for you. So from the hands and knees, we bring your most open side. I'm going to say right leg for me. I'm going to bring that forwards, and then we rest the knee down and stretch the other leg out behind. And the idea is that we're lifting the upper body, extending the back there, opening this hip. So here comes a prop. That's a really useful prop to have under the hip. You can use cushions. If you've got a spare yoga mat, you can use the yoga mat. And if the hip's feeling really tight and you've got a bolster, bolsters are really good as well. So this is Swan. You can feel it as a hip opener and a back extension. You can always, with this one, notice that openness up the front of the body and the Hatha chakra. So there's compression around the area of the groin and the hip, and there's a stretch down the front of the body. You make this into Sleeping Swan by moving your hands gently and slowly forwards, bringing your head down towards the floor. You can bend your elbows if it's comfortable, and bringing some props for the forehead to rest on as well. Close your eyes. Think inwardly. How do I feel? Is this one of those that I'm desperate to get out of? pause, work out what's happening inside, emotionally, thinking, and also if there is any pain. You're playing your edge. So there's no extreme discomfort, but there's not a neutral feeling either. So if you find that you can't feel anything, and you ease in, observing your limit. So as well as compassion, there's an attitude that you have of respect for your own body and a softness. Deliberately trying to drape ourselves over and get loose into the posture. So the hands and the forearms are loose. We're not using muscle. If we were doing a press up, we'd be using muscle. That's good, that's yang. But this is yin, we're going deeper into the tissue. So think soft and loose everywhere you can. And then you can remain still for some time. Nice long, slow, deep breath as you come slowly up. Press down into your hands so that you come up onto your hands and knees. And then change sides. So this side, bringing your other foot in. Sliding the back leg away. Deciding prop or no prop. Prop or two props. Might need even more on one side. And think about dropping in. So no strain and as much support as you need to be able to stay there for what seems like eternity sometimes. The more propped you are, the easier it is to stay there for a long time. And it's the length of time which is more important. The longer, the deeper it gets into the fascia. So this is the swan. And you can go for sleeping swan if it's appropriate for you. So you walk your hands forwards, bend your elbows, let your head hang down, put something underneath your forehead if that feels good. So sleeping swan is described as an external rotation pose. It affects the Gall bladder meridian, which runs down the side of the body along the outer hip. It places pressure on the groin to nourish the liver meridian. Feel as if you're resting onto your arms and draping forwards if you can. Also think about easing the weight towards your hips. So maybe by pushing into your elbows, you can ease the weight into the hips, but it's about playing with your edge. So decide what feels best for you. Think of the pose as needing to be heavy in the hips and light on the front knee. Take a lovely long, slow, deep breath in. Come back up onto your hands and knees, sliding that leg back. And if you take your legs out in front of you, put your hands behind, then what you can do is bend your knees and just rock the knees gently from side to side so that you feel a bit of pressure around the outside of your hip. Acts like a bit of a massage, loosens, unblocks. Very, very helpful. And then we're going to move straight into another hip opener, shoelace pose. And if you're used to the Ashtanga, it's an advanced pose in Ashtanga, cow face pose. That's what it is. Okay, so you can do it from sitting, and your most open side, bring that leg in first. So your knee is in your midline, and then the side that is not quite as open, bring that on the top. That's your cow face pose. We relax the arms here. We're not having to do anything with the arms. We're making a decision to focus on the hips in shoelace. So you can put your fingers down. If you decide that you need to sit on a block because that's not comfortable, sit on a block. And anything along the way, you can bring this front foot forwards if it's too intense. Go into cross legs. You make that decision. I'm going to show you a lying down version as well. Right leg crosses left, and you just lift your left leg up. So you decide which feels best. Very intense around the hips. If you want to move your body slightly forwards for the last few seconds, that's okay as well. You can slide your hands forwards, drop your head down towards your knee. Notice where that stretch is and where, if anywhere, you can feel compression. If you can't feel any compression, maybe a bit deeper in the forward bend. So slowly uncurl, take your hands behind and swap your legs over. So the opposite leg's going underneath. If you want to do the variation, lie on your back, cross the opposite leg over the thigh and lift up on the other one. Just put your fingertips down onto the floor. This would be a good one for just checking your breathing. So take a deep breath in, make sure there's no jerkiness there. Does it feel as if it's flowing? If it's flowing, that's fine. If it's jerky, then make an adjustment with the legs. And if you want to try, just gently walking your fingers forwards, slowly bringing your chest down onto your thigh. Remember, come back up if it's too much. Relax your head and your face. If you want to block on top of your knee, just so that you can rest down, that's good too. Blocks, cushions, books you can use sometimes instead of blocks if you haven't got a block handy. A book or two is just as good. Stay aware all the time. If it starts to feel really easy and you play with the edge, just deepen it slightly. Now slowly come out of that. And as you come up, untie your legs, feet on the floor, gently rocking from side to side. There was a bit of internal rotation with that one. And the next one we're going to do is called Square Pose. So Square Pose is it's a bit of a variation really on Swan and Sukhasana, simple cross legs. What we're going to try to do is get the legs to appear more square. So if you start with your most open side and think about the leg coming straight out of your hip forwards and flexing your foot, a right angle at your knee here. So you can probably see that my knee doesn't want to go down at all. So that would be a good position to have the blocks in. And then this other leg comes round and crosses. So the foot's flexed here over the knee. The thigh comes forwards and then this leg comes down towards this ankle. And again, you can probably see there's miles between the two. So in my case, I would prop up there and I can feel both hips deeply stretching. So stay with that, upright if you feel comfortable. And if you feel as if you could go a little bit further towards your edge, just drape your body forwards, let your head hang. So that's Square Pose on one side. I'm not going to be holding that one for quite as long on either side. So if you just stay aware all the time of your edge, make sure that you haven't gone too far into it, but know that this pose we're splitting it so that we're doing just 2 minutes either side. There's only 25 seconds left on this side. I don't know whether that's helpful to know, but just breathe into it if you can. There you go. So if you just lean backwards slightly so that you can ease your legs out, and then we'll go again with the other side. So we'll get the leg to come straight out, foot lies down on the floor, and then the other side up and over. So you can see that there's a heck of a difference between my two sides. Might be the same with you. Props hardly required, I would say, on this side, but I'll slide one under there. Try and have the feet flexed. When the feet are flexed, the knees are kept quite safe, and soften into your hips. So the front leg is like when we do pigeon pose, a kind of right angle there, a little bit more intense than the swan that we've done. Square pose, sometimes people refer to it as log pose as well, because the legs look like the logs when they're stacked up in a fire. Nice deep breaths there. Just got 1 minute left to go on that side. Remember the pause. If you feel as if everything's become a little bit chaotic, it might not be pain, might be but you give yourself a moment to make the decision before you ease out of the pose. "20 seconds left." Checking your breathing, fluid breath. And then slowly release. So rock back so that you can untie your legs, put your feet flat on the floor, and the windscreen wipers can go again. Massaging through the hips, unblocking, releasing where the meridians are crossing through the pelvis. Our next pose is a lying butterfly pose. So it's not as intense as the fish pose. Back's flat on the floor. So if you ease back and bring your feet together, and then allow the knees to roll outwards. Soles of the feet are together. And as your knees drop out to the side, you can decide if you want to stack up cushions and blocks underneath, just so that they're resting in something rather than suspended in midair. Position those so you feel, yeah, I could stay here. And your arms are going to be cactus arms. So you take your arms out to the side, but bend your elbows, and then your hands, backs of your hands go flat on the floor. And rest. Quite something going on in the hips now. Lying butterfly with cactus arms allows you to feel the full length of the Gall bladder meridian. Check that there's no sensitivity in your knees. You might need a little extra prop if you start to feel any discomfort in your knees. Long breaths. Just bring your arms down by your sides. And then bring the knees up together. And then hug both knees in like an upside down child's pose. You can bring your forehead forwards, not to hold it for any length of time, but just to feel as if you've loosened up and released. And then roll up to sit. And we're going to do a seated twist. we're going to bring your most open side over the top of the other side. So let's say it's my right leg's gone over the top, my left arm is coming round, my right arm is going behind. Now I can wrap the hand right around the back, that's okay, or hand to the floor. Then you just take a deep breath in, lengthen up through your spine, so you're opening up the vertebrae, and then gently twist around, but particularly notice what's happening at the level of your rib cage, between the ribs and the pelvis, where all those abdominal organs are. So liver, gallbladder, all in that area, getting quite a massage by that twisting round to the right. You're holding it for a while, so if you feel as if you need to put a block anywhere, just slide it underneath. Might be under your hip. Just allow your chest to be lifted while you breathe slowly, and use conscious breaths. Your diaphragm is what's acting as that inner massage. If you practice this at home, you can stay in the pose for longer than 5 minutes if you want to. It's a good time to notice what's just coming up in your mind. Any thoughts that pop into your mind, any feelings that just rise up. When you're in a pose for a while that's quite deep like this, it's activating that center there where our solar plexus is, Manipura chakra. Self-assurance, self-confidence, that chakra is responsible for those attributes. Notice any self-talk, anything that's habitual. As you breathe, you can really sense what Sarah Powers describes as an infusion of chi. So deep, quite intense, that compression. And on the other side of your body, real length. Just slowly release. Notice as you come back to the center, stretch your legs out in front of you, that you feel some warmth in that area where the compression on the blood flow has been, and you just get this lovely release. So there's a perfusion, if you like, of blood in that central area, as well as the pressure that we've been aiming for on the spine, where all of the meridians emerge from the chakras. So let's try the other side then now. Deep breath in. And you're wrapping, putting your hand behind, putting your hand on the floor, lengthening your spine, and easing round, noticing the difference from one side to the other. that lovely seated twist there. You feel it activating different parts of your spine. You can feel it activating different parts in the front of the body as well. As we progress through the class, you might start to notice that you've settled into the timings as well, that they don't seem quite as long. And that's all good. You might begin to recognize in yourself when you start to feel the urge to move, and whether it's directly related to some thinking. At the end of our spell in this twist, we're going to move into Shavasana. And during Shavasana, we'll take stock of everything that's happened to us in the last hour and try and reset the body with an improved feeling, an improved flow, and a sense of having loosened quite deep inside. Just keep your awareness inside, and as you're breathing, checking all the time, is this right? Playing with the edge again, moving deeper if you can, releasing slightly. So slowly, when you're ready, in your own time, coming back to the center. Stretching your legs out in front of you and rolling down so that you're now on your back. And Shavasana, hands either at the sides of your body like that, or hands on your abdomen. Backs of your hands will be on the floor if your arms are at the sides. And we have that as a gesture of receiving and giving and openness. Part of the process of surrender. And feel as if all of your back is smoothing out and widening and flattening into the floor. So with your legs out in front of you and slightly apart, bring your awareness into the feeling that you now have in the hips. And think softness and looseness in the hips. Visualize where the chakras are, deep inside of your spinal cord. And just see how this feels. If you breathe in and try and imagine that you're drawing up a white light from your tailbone right up into the crown of your head. And as you breathe out, imagine a fountain of coloured light coming down through the body, right down to the end of your tailbone. And if that feels a lovely sensation for you, then just carry on breathing in the white light and breathing out fountain of coloured light. Now, it's not for everybody, but if you feel that's not for you, just focus your attention on in and out. Nothing else. Just enjoy that feeling of filling your lungs and then releasing the air and emptying your lungs. Finally, bringing your awareness into your soft tissues. Think about the deep connective tissues, the fascia. Feel as if, with all the movement that we've done, that your positioning can now be a little bit nearer where you would like to be. If you think about your posture, if you've had a habitual tightness in one shoulder and the movements that we've done have released it, sliding your shoulders down so they're even. Same with the hips and the knees. Resetting. Enabling your body to recover. It's a kind of healing process that's happened slowly over time. So at the beginning of the class, there might have been tightness, and at the end, a little bit more flexibility. And there we go. So stay as you are for a moment, just becoming aware of everything that's around you. And then a slow movement in your fingers and your toes. A nice stretch with your arms above your head, pointing your toes away. And then bring your arms by your sides. Take a deep breath in and bend your knees. And then you can roll over onto your side. It's the left side actually when you've done a yin class. So just moving to the side where the Ida nadi is, the one that's associated with the moon, the more yin qualities. And then slowly up to sit. If you'd unmute yourselves.